Good morning and welcome back to the channel. Today is going to be a Wild Eye review for the movie Dark Show. It's from 2016. Currently gets a 5.8 on IMDB. It's also known as the X-Treme Limit. When Wild Eye distributed it, they changed the name, I'm guessing. It was released on June 11th of 2019. Clocks in at around an hour and 19 minutes. It currently is airing on Tubi TV as well. It's directed by Olivier Parthonnaud, written by Olivier Parthonnaud, and stars Tim Charles as Bradley Morton, Matthew Mellalieu as Tim McIntosh, Joanne McCallin as Kate Woodrow, and Malcolm Conrath as David Melmont. The music was done by Yannick Valmorin. The makeup artist was Melanie Raithlot. A TV show, X-Treme Limit, turns into a real nightmare is the tagline. Countries of origin in this film are the UK and France. The actual filming location was Montpellier, France. Production company was Dark Show. Delatio Roy Films. The distributors for the films was Films at the Top of Our Skin from 2016 and went theatrical with Dark Show. And then in 2019, Wild Eye picked up the distribution rights. This morning we're going to call this Wild Eye Thursday. Because I always, for some reason, I always miss the Wild Eye review on Wednesday. Just the way my schedule goes. But we'll call this a Wild Eye Thursday. Just, kind of something unique. The special effects for this film was done by IIM, I think. I think that's what it says. IIM. We kick off the movie. And as most movies do in the horror genre, they kind of foreshadow the opening scene. We start off with the movie with the actress or the character Kate is walking down what looks to be a dark pathway, and it's hard to tell what it is at this point because the movie is just kicked into full gear or started to set in motion. You could kind of call it kind of catacombish in a way because there's not really much of a pathway for her to walk down. It's a very dark scene, so it's really hard to make out anything around her very much. But then it just kind of focuses on what she's doing right away, and then it cuts the scene, and then we cut to a daytime scene where someone is taking an X-Treme Limit challenge. This is a TV show, kind of like a lot like Fear Factor. She's being flown by an experienced flyer. And they're both in the cockpit of this aircraft, and he's tipping it upside down and doing all kinds of crazy stunts with her in it. And he's trying to see if he can, scare her out of her wits, which is working. And they basically cut that part of the episode, and we see Team X-Treme, if you will, the makers of it that are behind the scenes. They're a group of 20-somethings that are watching the tape of that lady, and she's being scared out of her wits. And then one of the guys in the group, I want to call him Bradley, but I might be wrong on that, kind of pokes fun of her misfortune of being scared. Then out of nowhere, the group's executive producer comes in asking them, how is our victim doing this week? And they assure him she's doing fine. He tells the group he's tired of the current formula for the show. He wants something new, more exciting. He wants something more exotic, if you will. He wants for them to get bigger sponsorship, more or less, by going overseas, which later they do to go to France for their next contestant. He namely wants a French participant as he thinks that they make for the perfect victim for some odd reason. I'm not saying that's racist, but I don't know. I don't know anybody that's a perfect victim in anything really. I mean, unless they're kind of they can't handle extreme sports or things like that. That would be one thing, but I just thought that's kind of random. I guess maybe because they're just kind of poking fun at themselves. I have no idea. They seem to have found their perfect French actor for the challenge, a guy named David Melmont. They interview him more or less. They break down what the show is actually all about. They tell him it can be a bit extreme and challenging, more or less, but he complies with everything they are saying. And Kate goes on to introduce the team to him. They ask him if he's interested in the possible role in the show, and they tell him that he's going to be heavily compensated, and that seems to sell him on the show, more or less. I guess he can be bought. I don't know. That's kind of the way I took it. We get a kind of a shot of what to expect that they'll be putting him through. He's going to be skydiving, kayaking, cross-country motor racing, that kind of thing at high speeds. They put him through these tests. At some point, being right in the final test to see if he's qualified for the show, he gets kind of cold feet, but Kate kind of uses her female charm to keep him to stay. He stays, and his final test has him a little baffled because the final test is they want him to jump, I guess, off something quite high, or I can't really remember what they wanted him to do per se. He finds it dangerous, but he's kind of still hesitant, but he stays anyway, and he sticks around. They set up camp. They find an old oil lamp, and as soon as that's mentioned, David says, because it's in his home country, he says, not far from here there's an ancient castle from the 12th century during the Crusade times. It basically goes into a little bit of story about that lamp, and then the Crusades. And then night hits, and they begin to pour. It begins to pour on the group, so they begin to walk through a small mountainous, mountain range to where the castle is. They go in the castle where Kate does not want to stay, as it's kind of creeping her out. But the group assures her that they'll be fine, and most of all, they'll be dry. The guys go gather up some wood for fire. They get it really warm and leave Kate alone with a flashlight. All of a sudden, in the distance, you hear a a screeching noise. She thinks it may have been the guys out basically messing around with her. And out jumps David, thinking it's funny, but she's still a tad bit freaked. It's more or less a jump scare. They finally get the fire going, making a little small talk, and sing a song or two, have a few laughs. They begin to worry that the equipment is not acting right inside the castle. They all pretty much downplay that it'll be better in the morning. Kate gets tired and goes to bed, leaving the two guys alone to talk, but the night progresses on. They're all asleep by that point. And then all of a sudden they hear another screeching noise that does not sound human. They all get out of their tents, and at this point they're all pretty much freaked out. They want to leave the castle at this point, so they do, but Tim says they will not survive in the weather, so they need to go back, because it's like downpouring in trenches, and it's kind of windy a little bit. Kind of almost looks like it could be the start of a good-sized storm. This is a horror movie, and what fun would it be if they would have just kept going? Then there wouldn't have been in the scary castle. That's kind of the way I took it at this point in the movie. They get another fire going. They again hear the screeching from an unseen. I'm not going to say monster because it's never really shown, and I don't want to reveal what's going on by the end either. But we're supposed to believe it's an unseen creature of some sort. And they all look off in the direction from where they hear the sound. They figure if they stay by the fire, the creature will not hurt them. Tim goes to round up more wood to hopefully keep the creature at bay. He's trying to round up the wood. He hears a noise and it starts to freak him out. Kate and David are alone and they say they should try to get some sleep, hoping that Tim comes back with more wood. He gets the wood. Kate is now sleeping and David goes to see what is holding up Tim with the wood. David calls to him and we get a jump scare with Tim holding the wood. The two having a private laugh about commencing to take it back to their mini camp, if you will. They try to get the fire going, but they happen to notice that Kate's no longer in her sleeping bag and is nowhere in sight. They call to her and begin to panic. So they begin looking for Kate. They gather up weapons just in case they run into this sound that they're hearing. You know, they don't obviously want something to fight it off against. Guys are not familiar with the castle at all, as isn't Kate. And they begin to go down hallways and begin to, hallways basically that have no, basically are nothing but dead ends. They find some stairs where they think they may have heard Kate screaming. At this point, it kind of feels like a video game of sorts with the dark hallways and entrances. It's like anytime these guys are going to get, like anytime that something's going to jump out and get them, kind of like a video game. At this point, they're just guessing on where to go and keep doing, going to different ends of the castle. They managed to bring down a door where they're 100% sure that's where they heard Kate screaming. And once they get inside, there's nothing. And it has them all baffled, if you will. David begins to think this is a test for the show. And he begins to scream at Tim, saying, This is all for show. This is all for show. He just kept insisting that it was just a recording for this show they're doing. And Tim assures him this is very real. He goes, why would I, risk my friend's, disappearance? And they basically all but got in a fight. Tim hears who he thinks is Kate off in the distance and goes to look, and he kind of says, who the heck are you, or who the hell are you? I can't remember what he did say, but it was obviously somebody they had never seen in the castle. And here I thought it was going to be a monster, and it really wasn't. It was just some random guy. I guess I don't really know if they were trying to say he was like maybe a descendant of the castle. But he's stabbed by this man that has this, it looks like a shirt with a red cross on it, like kind of like a, like a, I don't know what you want to call it, but like a, I don't know how to really describe it, but he's wearing a shirt with a really big cross on it. He stabs Tim, as I say, and David manages to get away. This psycho who killed Tim is now trying to seek out David as well. The movie is really dark at this point, and it's hard to make out a lot of things going on in certain dark scenes because it's kind of like really too dark. I get why they did that, but sometimes these dark ones are really dark. David continues to truck his way through the dark castle with no light, where he finds other people chained up. There are a couple of girls, and it seems to be they're of German descent. He asks them if they have seen a girl named Kate, and it kind of cuts away from there, and he assures them he's going to help them. And then the next scene, it shows the man who killed Tim kneeling and chanting while holding a huge sword, like he's praying to something. David tries to sneak up on him while he's doing this, but he comes to, and him and David kind of come to fisticuffs over him approaching him, and he screams at David. You can't really understand him too well, and he kind of backs off. David goes his way and trudges on searching for Kate. He trips over something and injures his arm. David manages to grab a rock as he hears something coming in the distance, and it's Kate. And they are asked to, they're glad to see each other. It's kind of like a little bit of a jump scare as well, because they kind of like bump into each other, and Then when they know it's, David and it's Kate, they're like all happy and they embrace. David tells her he thought she was dead. Kate too saw the girls that were tied up in the room that David had seen, by the man who dwells in the castle. David tells Kate that Tim was killed by the man. He tells Kate that they must get out and call the police. They both try to make their way back to the entrance to the castle, and they do, but the man is not far behind and is trying to find them. David wants them to scale the side of the castle by going up through an opening. Kate's phone rings and she thinks it's Tim, and obviously can't be Tim because he had died at the hands of this castle psychopath. And the man pops up behind her and slices her with a sword. This leaves only David now in the castle psycho. David is getting around in the castle, and it appears he falls down a hole of sorts. And then the scene goes really dark here. And then it shows David on the floor of the castle. He wakes up not knowing where he is. He manages to come to. He finds a crate that contains varying items, including one that has a Zippo lighter. With the side of his lighter, the aid of his lighter, he finds an old revolver that is fully loaded, and now he has a much-needed advantage against this psycho in the castle. He goes to the door and makes his way through, looking for the man via the Zippo lighter, and he gets what he wants. When he comes, shows the steps comes to show this, when he wants to, David shoots him. Oh, that's what it was. He is on the steps. He was on a set of steps. He was coming down towards David at one point. David shoots him several times, but there's no body. Once David goes to look to see after he shot him, there's like nothing there, like nothing. He looks on and he still finds no body or not even injured. David makes his way back to their tents only to leave, and he runs into the killer again at the opening of the castle. And it's weird because he seems unharmed, and then he's goes to shoot him again, and it's like nothing happens. At this point, I'm guessing this gun has dummy rounds, and this is all staged. This whole entire part of, I guess this was all for show. David and the man have a bit of a standoff with their weapons of choice. David gets the better of him, hits him in the face, knocking him to the ground, where he proceeds to chop at the killer, killing him. At this point, David's face is covered with blood, where he walks out of the cave, and all of a sudden he hears this bunch of clapping noise. And I guess this was all staged by the X-Treme Limits team, where he... Yeah, not one of the people that were in the castle with him were even harmed. At least that's the way they're playing it here. The producer of the show tells David that the ratings are the biggest they've ever been, saying this is the best show ever. And then David's like, "Are you?" He has this look like, "Are you for real?" Like he can't believe this was all staged, even though he kind of called it earlier on. David's thinking is that he really killed, more or less he killed the killer when it was staged. And all of a sudden, Tim in the group goes, "What happened to the tattoo guy, David?" And he's in there, "I killed him," or something. And he goes, and then they kind of like all look at each other and they're like baffled. It's like we had a death in this episode. And Tim goes in to look and he goes, he asked him, "David, what did you do?" And he kind of like, it kind of like freezes, you know what I mean? Like in time, it kind of freezes there. And it's like, is this for real, or are they playing him again? Then they show David wake up in a lighted red room beside himself, like he was dreaming. The ending is a bit confusing for the viewers, for us viewers in a sense, because later, after it shows David pop up on this like rock slab, uh, it looks like Tim's going up on a ladder to fix something like the camera. So I'm assuming this was all like maybe staged as well. But for the most part, this was a really well done movie in terms of like being in a dark castle. My last quarter of the movie kind of went downhill for me a little bit with this one because when I found out that it really wasn't no monster, I was kind of let down by that. But um, it was a well made movie. Like I kind of got the feeling a little bit like it was a mix of Castle Freak, a little bit like Howling 5 with the castle, a little bit. But it had a lot, it had a little bit of mystery to it with not knowing what was in the dark, and then you heard the creature. I think that's what I was a little let down. I was hoping it was a creature of the week kind of movie because it more or less, just more or less set it up for it being a horror movie with a monster, and it turned out to be kind of all staged, which I didn't really like. I mean, they kind of like flip flopped us up throughout in a way. Well, not throughout, but here and there. And I mean, the David called it out earlier in the movie, and it turned out it was basically accurate. But I really like this one. It's just like the last quarter of it kind of slowed down a little too much for my liking overall. But I would recommend this movie because it's a perfect movie in a castle kind of vibe to it. Very well done. But thank you, Wild Eye, and thank you for the viewership on the channel. I'm going to be doing a lot more of these reviews, so stay tuned on the channel. Please share, like, and subscribe. Please check out Wild Eye when you're able to. See what kind of titles they got. I did have fun with this one. But like I said, that last quarter kind of slowed it down a little bit for me, and I didn't really like the swerve. But outside of that, I'd recommend it. But thanks for watching, and happy Thursday, and I'll be back again with another review in the future. See you later. Bye.